After the initial controversy that trailed its establishment in January 2020, it appears the Southwest Security Network, popularly called Amotekun, is beginning to find its space in the region, as states are taking steps to provide a legal framework for its eventual takeoff. To drive home this point, members of the Oyo State House of Assembly marched into the complex all dressed in attires resembling the leopard skin to deliberate on and subsequently pass the bill establishing the State Security Network Agency, codenamed Amotekun, into law. At the end of deliberations, the Speaker, Mr. Adebo Ogundoyin, gives an insight into what the exercise hopes to achieve.
This outfit will be responsible for rapid economic development in terms of agriculture, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of peace and stability.
In neighboring Osun State, lawmakers also deliberated on the security network and Amotekun core establishment bill. Like their counterparts in Oyo State, they wasted no time in passing the bill into law.
If you look at the bill properly, there is an area in which the appointment of a corps commander has to be referred to the House of Assembly for confirmation. It's part of the oversight functions from the Assembly. That is, we have not give all the power to executive to select or to appoint who becomes the commander in the Amotekun Corps.
Meanwhile, the Lagos State House of Assembly also joined the League of States to fast-track the bill on the Southwest security after it was read for the third time.
A bill for a law to abet Lagos State Neighborhood Safety Corps Agency Law 2019 be passed into law. All in favor say aye. Those against nay, the ayes have it.
As it stands now, Oyo, Osun, Lagos and Ogun States have all taken steps to change the security architecture of the Southwest region after subjecting the bill establishing the security network to rigorous legislative scrutiny.
Well, this is a conversation that started months ago, and this is how far we have come. Joining us this morning to talk about the regional security initiatives, especially in the Southwest, is the Special Advisor, Media and Publicity to Oyo State Governor, Mr. Jide Ajani. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Let's begin with this noise that's just started from what we heard in the papers this morning. A coalition of Yoruba groups under some Yoruba appraisal forum are raising an alarm of the hijack of this Amotekun. They had this protest in Lagos yesterday at the Lagos Police Command. Are you aware of it?
No, not aware of that. But hijack, what do you mean when you say hijack?
Well, they are talking about the fact that, well, while the people who had this Amotekun, initiative in mind had good ideas, their fear is that this could have been hijacked by some politicians.
Now, when you use the word hijack, in which context?
Well, that's what they say.
And where did that happen in Lagos?
Yes.
I don't think there's any issue of hijack based on what my own governor has signed and the law that took effect on Tuesday after the signing. Because if you see some politicians have hijacked it, then you are trying to, in effect, say there's something ulterior to it. But then governance is about the well-being of generality of the people, and how best you can advance the cause of good society and shared values. When my governor was signing the bill into law on Tuesday, he made reference to the fact that the conception of the idea started sometime in June, July last year, and in March, it's been signed. That's about 8-9 months. Now, what that tells you is that what were they doing before now? There were consultations, there were engagements, there were discussions. And in governance, before you see the fruition of any project, it takes a while. In our state, for instance, we've been doing some things that people are yet to see physically. But in the fullness of time, they'll begin to see them. So when people now come and say a program like this has been hijacked, the context of that hijack must be properly laid to bear.
One of the concerns initially, you're of course part of the furore over whether or not the initiative should be supported by some sections of the society has been that some politicians could take an undue advantage of it in due time. Is there any way which this law that's been signed by the governor of Oyo State, is there any way that it has been insulated such that it cannot be used for personal agenda of some individuals?
No. It cannot be used because the law is very, very detailed. And that's why, and I think we have to give credit to Papa Awolowo, because when they started this free education program in the 50s, it was meant to achieve a particular objective. Now, if people are cognitively distant to certain realities, that is, if they don't have a full appreciation of a situation in terms of providing enlightened views, it will be difficult to actually hit right. Now, the bill, for instance, talks about assisting and collaborating with the police. But one of the two major items here that will resonate with members of the public is the Complaints Committee, Amotekun Core Complaints Committee. That, in that section of the law, it states clearly how any member of the Corps who runs foul of the intent can be dealt with, and it's detailed. The other aspect of it again is if you don't mind quickly, what was the process for that? Because that would, probably restore some confidence in people. How do people complain? What are the things that would contravene the law as far as the Amotekun Corps themselves are concerned?
Okay, well, while we look for that, we understand that this is available online, by the way. If people want to take a look at that, yeah, they can find it on, is it on the website of the state or?
It's on the website of the state,
all right.
Yeah.
So just for people who want to take a look at that, it's available.
So you're saying, anyway, go on, you have found it.
No, the part of the complaints committee is such that if any of the members of the Corps is noticed or is seen by any member of the public to have contravened the intent of either the mode of arrest of a culprit or the way a culprit is dealt with, if there are aspects of inhumane behavior that has been noticed, the complaints committee would take such complaints through petitions and then sanction whichever member of the Corps that has been noticed to have done that. Now, the second part of it, which actually, when you talk about Boko Haram in Nigeria today, when you arrest a suspect,
no, just keep going.
No. When you arrest a suspect, you must do proper recording of the activities. Now, in section 29, it says, a written record shall be made of any intervention involving arrest of a person and shall include the grounds on which the arrest was made, the name of the Amotekun Corps member who effected the arrest, the name of the person arrested, the date and time of the arrest, the location of the police station or post the person arrested was handed over to, the name, rank, and signature of the officer within the police station or post to whom the person arrested was handed over to, the date and time the person arrested was handed over to the police, and any other information pertaining to the arrest. Now, why this is very important is because Mohammed Yusuf was captured, that's the leader of the Boko Haram, was captured by the military, handed over to the police. Mysteriously, he died in police custody. Now, till today, nobody knows what has happened to that case. And that's why you have the Boko Haram issue now. So what this clearly states out is that if anybody is apprehended and handed over to the police, there is proper documentation to show that this person was picked up for this, the person has been handed over to this police station, this police officer is the one who took custody of this individual. So that, for me, will resonate very, very well. And when you talk about those who said the stuff has been hijacked in terms of the complaints committee,
the core itself.
The core itself.
Yeah.
Go on. I'm sure people can always go back to your website to find the details.
Okay.
Right, you know, we'll go digital also. So you just, but I see you have the neck band of Amotekun, if I may, because we saw on the front pages, you know, the governor had the Amotekun outfit just to show that, you know what, this is a thing that has come to stay. So it begs the question: how is it being received? Are you receiving applications? Are people coming up to say, I want to be a part of this so far?
No, the development agenda for Western Nigeria is the one overseeing the whole engagement.
Right.
So states on their own will determine how they get people to apply. And it's going to be on a needs basis, because the needs of Oyo State may be different from the needs of Lagos State or the needs of Osun State. So people are receiving it very, very well. And people have been asking questions on how can they become eligible. But even eligibility, it's all spelled out in the law,
right,
such that you do not just have just anybody come on board and say, I want to be, and then easily finds his way there. And then you have to deal with the consequences of people misbehaving, which is why the complaints committee's work is very, very key to this.
I understand that part of the criteria is the fact that there has to be a DPO who will stand in for you, because I understand that this is meant to be identical across the southwestern states. The
details are being worked out, and it's evolving. As time goes on, I'm sure as exigencies of the moment require, some parts of the requirement too will be tinkered with, such that at the end of the day, you want to have a core that will deal with the menace of cattle rustling, kidnapping, and all forms of crimes and criminalities in the country.
Another thing, and I think it probably aligns with the group that protested yesterday, you know, talking about allegations of, you know, hijacking. In fact, they said that eventually this might be a tool in the hands of land grabbers. And I saw in the provision that most of the appointments will be done by the governor, right? But then does he take recourse to the State Assembly?
Yeah. Done by the governor with the approval of the State House of Assembly.
Right.
So the chairman, for instance, of the board is going to be appointed by the governor, but subject to confirmation by the State House of Assembly.
So that's a check and balance there?
Even for the removal of same, if anybody is found to be wanting or is found to be incapable or incapacitated of delivering on the mandate of his office, even if the person has to be removed, a section of the law says the House of Assembly has to also confirm such removal, such that if you have a corps commander or a board chairman who is very, very good at delivering on the core mandates of the Amotekun Corps, and then you have a governor, which is where the issue of hijack comes in, who believes or thinks he could use the corps for something other than what it was established for, and wants to just remove the board chairman or such a person whimsically, the House of Assembly would also have to have a role to play.
Well, forgive me, but you know, many people would, you know, ask the question: at what point will the governor or the House of Representatives, House of Assembly, you know, play a role now? Given that most people believe that the House of Assembly of most states are pretty much appendages of the executive.
And you know, perception is key here. When my governor came into office on May 29 last year, he said he was coming to change the paradigm of governance in Nigeria. And so far, I can speak for Oyo State. The relationship between the State of Assembly and the governor, or the executive branch of government, has been one of mutual respect. Each arm of government is allowed the leverage to do whatever the mandate of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria allows it to do. So in that wise, for us in Oyo State, I don't see that as a situation of having a rubber stamp House of Assembly, because the legislators too, respected men and women, sometimes make suggestions that His Excellency takes in because of the value addition to good governance.
Okay, I see that the board chairman, just as you said, will be appointed, you know, by the executive and the legislature. And I also see one of the provisions is that the board chairman has to be someone with security experience for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Is it going to be drawn from the police or from where?
And the person even has to be of the level of a colonel in the Nigerian Army. Okay. Now, that is discretionary. The governor will decide on which arm of the security outfits the person would come from. But what is very important is that cognate experience that the person is bringing on board, so that things will be properly shaped to avoid the type of fears that people are beginning to nurse, which sometimes you find them as being misplaced. Because, for instance, part of what the law seeks to deal with is the issue of cattle rustling. The other day, a brother of Fulani extraction expressed so much fears, and most of what he was saying were based on just hearsay. They were not grounded on facts. So if cattle rustling, which my Fulani brothers have been victims of, is part of the crimes that this law seeks to deal with, then it means it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win-win for everybody. So it's not just targeted at maybe an ethnic group, as people are saying, or that maybe the governor of a state will then hijack the core and then begin to use it for political reasons. That will not happen under the watch of my own governor, G.A. Makele.
You know, so maybe this is digressing a little bit, but, you know, from the pictures we've seen men adorned in, you know, traditional outfit, and we want to know how much of technology will be involved in this. Is it half technology, half, you know, the usual, the traditional, or it's full technology? I see you have your Amotekun neckband too.
You know, every society evolves from a particular tradition, and there's no way under the sun that you junk your tradition for whatever evolutionary steps you are taking. The world today is going in the direction of technology. So that's a no-brainer. It's a definite thing, and it's even being worked out. That's why the operational base is going to be somewhere that from any part of the Southwest, with the help of technology, you can reach out and then pass information and then pass intelligence. Even the security vehicles we launched in Oyo State, for instance, from any part of Oyo State, you can communicate with the police.
I see that you know, part of the provisions of the law says that there will be joint patrol with the police. What infrastructure will be used? Is it the Amotekun infrastructure or police infrastructure?
I think that will be dependent on, or even contingent upon, the exigencies of the moment. We launched the vehicles. There will be motorcycles too. There will be bicycles too. The police also has what the governor has given them to support their own activities. So if, for instance, a police patrol vehicle is the one that is nearest to the scene of a crime, you don't have to necessarily wait for an Amotekun vehicle to get there with you. If you can easily reach an Amotekun core operative and then move together, or if an Amotekun core operative gives you intelligence on a particular crime going on somewhere, he would have to guide you, yes, but then you don't have to necessarily wait for his own equipment or his own vehicles before you can deploy. Like I said, the exigencies of the moment will determine which persons or which outfits, machines or vehicles will be used to tackle any crime at any point in time.
So I imagine if the Amotekun core member gets to the scene first, and, you know, there's been this talk about bearing arm. I understand this will be at the discretion of the IGP, right? So what is the conversation around that? Because people are saying...
It's ongoing, and it's even in the law too, because they will be licensed. They'll be licensed, and it's in the law too. These are things that...
Licensed to
carry arms, yeah.
These are things... Arms?
The details of that will be worked out as the conversation and the discussions continue. Okay. So your question was about if an Amotekun core operative
gets to the scene first, and you know, you probably
maybe
meet people
becomes overwhelmed.
Yeah, with higher firepower. For example.
You see, it's universally. If you assess a situation, your cognition should be able to tell you if you'll be walking directly into harm's way, or you can handle it yourself. And mind you, intelligence gathering at times does not necessarily translate immediately into enforcement of law. That's part of the confusion people are creating regarding the Amotekun core operations. Now, if a policeman, for instance, who is heavily armed, gets to a scene of a crime and assesses the situation and discovers that it will be foolhardy for him to jump in, he will definitely stay back, seek reinforcement before taking the next move. Same thing goes for an Amotekun core operative, because if you assess the situation and you discover you'll be overwhelmed, it will be suicidal to just go ahead and jump into any action.
Which brings up the issue of training. What's the process? Who takes the lead in training the Amotekun core? What kind of training will be effected for this joint patrol or joint activities? How do we know? How do the Amotekun core know where to draw the line between police functions and theirs?
No, these are things being drawn up, and these are things being worked out between, you know, the board is yet to be instituted. So most of what people are imagining in their heads now are just things in the air. So until the real operations start, and then the guidelines are properly drawn out, consultations of which are still ongoing for now with the police, we cannot begin to talk about the details of how the operational mode would be. So but until the time when they've concluded discussions, concluded ongoing consultations with the police, right. Because mind you, Amotekun Corps is not a replacement for Nigeria Police. It's been stated over and over. It's just to assist and collaborate in terms of local nuances and local behavioral issues that the police ordinarily will not be able to handle. So it's like police having its eyes and ears on the ground where it is not fully equipped to do so because of some local nuances that some policemen may not be aware of.
Well, how long is this going to take before all the talk that you just talked about, the conversations, when will this project effectively
I cannot put a date to that because it will be difficult, it will be dangerous.
2 months, 3 months?
No, I cannot because the police is being worked with. I mean, everything we do is in connection with the police. So while we try to do the administrative part, the recruitment part, the real operationalization of what they will be doing would have to be in collaboration with the police. So it will be difficult for now to set a date or time for that.
You know, when you refer to the police, we understand that the police has a community policing initiative also that has been, you know, widely discussed, and there's been talk about how they work side by side. But we'll get to that. Just before we get into that, we know that there's been talk about remuneration, which is a big deal. I mean, pay. As much as this is, you know, meant to curb insecurity, this is good for everybody. You expect the average Amotekun Corps member to be paid a certain amount. So what is the plan for remuneration? Will they be paid?
Sure, they will be paid. Excuse me. Yeah. They will be paid, but all those are still being worked out. So, but I can assure you, if you look back in time, when the gangsters took over Chicago in the 30s, 40s, 20s, and when J. Edgar became the director of the FBI, his first concern was, how do we get our operatives remunerated properly such that the sidekicks they get from the criminals would be of no attraction. So I'm sure by the time they work out all those details, the remuneration will be such that members of the Corps will be fully committed, and their welfare too, which is key, would also be worked into whatever packages that they will give them, such that even when they are in harm's way, they can rest assured that their back is gotten by somebody.
And how will the agency be funded?
No, it's in the laws too. The states individually will do the funding. Then it could also raise funds. If you know, most of the states have security trust funds. So something similar is in the pipeline too, such that the core operations would not suffer the usual issue of funding. It will be properly funded.
Now, one of the things that a number of people would also look at, on the one hand, you've talked largely about the role of government. On the other hand, now, you've also mentioned the fact that Dawn is the one at the forefront of this. What's the working relationship?
It's good. It's very, very good. Because Dawn is, you know, as the name implies, Dawn is the development agenda for Western Nigeria. Okay. So most of the states have keyed into the agenda of Dawn, which is to ensure that what Apawolo started in the 50s and the 60s in terms of getting the Southwest to be galvanized for development is on the same page. Each governor, each state working with Dawn as a warehouse.
Okay. Now, one of the things that you talked about earlier is that there's going to be a lot of working with the locals. What's the communication, what's the conversation with the locals like? How are you communicating the agenda of the Amotekun Corps to the locals in the various hinterlands? Because Oyo State, for instance, is very, very large and wide.
Yeah, you should know. You know, when the Corps was launched on January 9 in Ibadan, the Oni of Ife, His Imperial Majesty, was there. And he said, we are all Amotekun. The traditional rulers have a key role to play in this. And my governor has always said that for any developmental agenda you want to put on board, if there's no buy-in from the people for whom that thing is being done, then it will not go far. So in this case, the people have a critical buy-in, which is very necessary for the success. So that buy-in is there already. And the traditional rulers and the leaders, community leaders too, will play a very significant role in ensuring that this comes on effectively.
You know, there are those who look at this, the Amotekun. Yes, it's now state-by-state basis, even though they work together, and they look at it and say, maybe this is a backdoor to ensuring that, you know, the region is powerful enough. I mean, if you have a handle on security, then it's only a matter of time before you ensure that other things fall in line. So is this a backdoor to regionalization, ensuring that the Southwest is strong enough?
When you say strong enough, you might be sending another narrative in the consciousness of some people, because strong enough, if you remember what happened in the 60s, which led to the Civil War, you see, security is key, is a key enabler in development. It's very, very key. The 4-point agenda of my own governor is good education, good health services, expansion of the economy, and security. And all these things are tied together, because it's only an enlightened mind with a good health that can explore economic opportunities. But you can only do all those if you are in a secure environment. So security is very key to all that we are talking about. So in terms of being strong, yes, strong enough to ensure that there is safety for investors to come. So on that score, I agree. But if it's another strong in terms of creating this fear of confederacy, which was part of the issues they had then, I don't think that's what we are doing for.
So that's not it's not a backdoor whatsoever for people having this conspiracy.
In fact, it's that backdoor that you said that actually made me choose my words in responding to that. It's not a backdoor to anything. It's just to ensure that our people are safe, investors can come to our states, and the people live a normal, safe life.
What happens if a government, in one of the governors or one of the governments, is not unable to fund its own Amotekun Corps?
God forbid.
But you know, not all states have equal financial capacity.
But all states have a stake in ensuring that their people are made safe.
And I hear that, you know, in that bill, they take donations. So
Yeah, sure.
if well-meaning Nigerians like you want to donate, you can help the states out.
Oh, really?
No, the trust funds that we have on most of the states is done through donation, apart from the seed funds by the state government.
We have to thank you so much for your time this morning. Jide Jane is the Special Advisor, Media and Publicity to Oyo State Governor. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
We're back in a moment. Please stay with us.